All right, so in section 10.3, what we're going to be doing is they're going to give us a right triangle like they did in yesterday's lesson. They're going to give us one of the sides of the triangle. They're going to give us another side that's unknown. They'll usually mark it with an X or an A or a Y or something like that. And then they're going to give us one angle. And based on that information, I should be able to figure out the missing side value, the one that has the letter on it, the X or the Y or the Z. So let me just real quick remind you guys of what we're supposed to know from yesterday. Okay, this is just a quick reminder. So we talked about SOHCAHTOA, right? Like this little acronym. And the S stood for sine of an angle equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. Okay, the CAH referred to the cosine of an angle, and that was adjacent over hypotenuse. And then the T was for the tangent of theta. By the way, sometimes in trig books, they'll use, well, most of the time they use theta for trig, but in algebra, sometimes they do like tangent of x, tangent of y, but theta is usually the general way that we do. We use Greek alphabets for it. So this would be opposite over hypotenuse. I'm sorry, not hypotenuse, adjacent. Okay, and then we also talked about the triangles and the side names, right? So if you have a triangle, just a basic looking triangle, you have a 90-degree angle right there. All right, and if I was going to label the sides A, B, C, then this side right here has to be C. Okay, because remember the side opposite the 90-degree angle is called our hypotenuse. Okay, so I'm going to put that right here. C is the hypotenuse. All right, and remember the hypotenuse is the longest side of the right triangle. The other sides, which we call legs, can be A or B. It doesn't matter which one you want to call it. I always leave A for the shortest side and B for the medium side. But you can switch it. You can have B as the shortest side and A as the medium side. It doesn't matter, but I always make sure that C is the longest side because that's what it's supposed to be. All right, so C is the hypotenuse, and right here A and B are legs. Now remember, C is also called a leg, but it has a different name because it's a 90-degree angle at the cross from it, so we call it the hypotenuse. So this is what you guys have to remember from yesterday. Now we're going to use this information to solve for sides, okay? So here we go. So the instructions say find the measure of each side indicated. And they'll put a round to the nearest tenth. Okay, tenth means one number after the decimal, right? So one number after is the tenth, then the hundredth, then the thousandth, right? 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, etc. So there is no one place. Sounds weird to say. So there's a tenth place right after the decimal. All right. So we're going to round to the nearest tenth place. So here's the first example. I'm going to try to do at least 3 of them. That way you guys can see a sine, a cosine, and a tangent applied. So here we go. So number 1. Let's make it look like this. Here's a 90-degree angle. We'll say that this is 20. Let's say maybe 50 degrees. Okay, we'll say that's 50 degrees. And this will be 10. And I want to figure out x. Now, by the way, in this homework, you're going to notice that they're going to give the vertices names. Okay? So, in other words, vertices, if you guys don't remember from geometry, that's all the little corners, right? The little sharp corners of the triangle. So they might call this like A, B, and C. Don't get thrown off by that. They're just basically saying there's angle A, angle B, and angle C. Angle A is 50 degrees. Angle C is 90 degrees. Does anybody know what angle B would be? 40, right? Because you're supposed to add up to 180, right? So 90 plus 50, that's 140. So 40 more would be 180. So all the angles inside of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. All the supplementals add up to 180 on the outside. That's a whole different thing. So, but it doesn't matter what B is, okay? We're just going to use what's given, all right? So here's how you're going to do it. I have an angle that's given to me right here, okay? And that's angle A, right? It's 50 degrees. I have X, which is, well, actually, before we go to X, which side is my hypotenuse? Let's label these things. 10, so this is H, okay? And then I know that X is considered, well, according to that 50-degree angle, what is that considered as? The opposite, right? Now notice I'm not going to even label my adjacent because that's not important. I just got to figure out, using the information they gave me, the missing piece. So I have an angle, opposite, and hypotenuse. Which function do I use? Which one does opposite and hypotenuse? Sine, right? So this is what I'm going to write. Sine of A is equal to OH. I'm just going to start this off like this, all right? Because I noticed, okay, I got to use the sine function. Because they gave me an angle, which is 50 degrees. They gave me opposite to solve, and I have hypotenuse given. It's a 10. So let me fill it in. Sine of 50 degrees is equal to opposite, which would be X, over H, which is 10. Now this next part, I'm going to need all you guys to probably do something for me. So, and it's going to require all of you guys that have calculators, bring out your calculators if you have them, because you may have to switch things up. I'm going to probably have to pause the video to kind of wait and make sure everybody has it right. But I got to solve for X, right? So I'm going to multiply it over. So when I multiply it over, I get 10 times sine of 50 degrees. That's X. Okay, thank you. So it's 10 times sine of 50 degrees. Now right now, I'm going to pause the video so that I can discuss with you guys how to set up your calculators into degree mode, because I'm guessing they're all in radian mode right now. So I'm going to pause it real quick. All right, so now that we checked all the calculators, hopefully everybody has them in the right format. I'm going to just get 10 times sine of 50 on my calculator. My answer comes out to 7.660444431. Okay, degrees, not degrees, sorry, that's the length, okay, of the side. But they want me to round it to the nearest tenth, so that would be what, 7.7, right? And there we go. Is there anybody who did not get that when you multiplied it? Because if you did it, that means your calculator could be in the wrong mode. So everybody's good? All right, awesome. I mean, this isn't terrible, right? I mean, it's a little weird, but it's not that bad. You are going to need a calculator for sure. You can use online calculators if you don't have one of these at home. They will work just fine too. Go to Desmos.com, and you don't have to use the graphing one. Scroll down, and they have like scientific, they have computations, they have tons of other ones there. So you don't have to use one like graph. So I'll show that to you guys before we're done. So all right, so that one's good. Let's go to question number 2. So this was a sine problem. Let's go with the cosine problem, or tangent. Let's see. Depends on how I want to draw it out. Whoops, that's not the. All right. So there's my triangle. Let me go dim the lights really quick. I just realized I left them on. I'm just gonna get this thing and put on my keychain so I can just walk with it. All right. So let's put a 37. I'll put a 37 degree up there, up on the top. Right, and I'm gonna make one that's a little bit tougher here. Actually, hold on. No, I want it to be. We'll do 5, and we'll put the X right there. All right, so now that I've given you this, now it's your job to figure out. Oh, actually, let me give you the names of the sides, because like I said, in your homework, they're going to put them there. So I'll put A here, B here, and C there. C usually is the 90-degree angle, right? Just like the side is usually the hypotenuse. So A, B, and C. All right, so now that they've given you a picture, your job is to figure out which trig function to use. Remember, I have this angle here. All right. My hypotenuse is which side? Let's see if you guys remember your geometry. Which one? The long side. What's the name of that side? Well, it's called the hypotenuse, but it's called AB, right? Side AB. You guys remember that from geometry? There's side AB, BC, and AC. So side AB, that's my hypotenuse. Do I need to know that for this problem? No, because there's no information there. So who cares? All right. What about 5? In reference to my angle, 37 degrees, what is 5? That's my opposite. Okay, and that makes this the adjacent side. So I have opposite, I have adjacent, and I have an angle. Which trig function? That's tangent, right? Tangent of the angle B is opposite over adjacent. So I'm just writing it out. You don't have to do this. This is just me setting it up so I know what to plug in. Okay? Now it's tangent of 37 degrees is equal to opposite, which is 5 over x. So I'm doing this problem on purpose because these are like, if there's tough ones, it's this one, okay? Because it's not as easy as the other one. The other one had the variable on top of the fraction, a number on the bottom. All I did was multiply, and that was it. Here, x is on the bottom. When x is on the bottom, you're going to have to move it around, okay? So let me multiply x. So it becomes x tangent of 37 degrees equals to 5. All right? But I just want x by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by tangent of 37. Remember, tangent of 37 is just like a number. It's like a 7. So imagine if it's at 7x, what you would do is divide by 7, right, to get rid of it. Tangent of 37 is just a number. So I'm going to divide by that number. I know it's going to look kind of weird, but I'm going to divide by tangent of 37 degrees on both sides. So I get x equals to 5 over tangent of 37 degrees. And now I'll use my calculator. All right? So before we get to the final answer, remember, the reason why this one was a little bit tougher was because in the fraction, the variable was on the bottom. When the variable is on the bottom, you got to manipulate the problem. You can't just multiply and we're done, like in the first example. So I'm going to get that x. I'm going to throw it over to the left side. So I get x times tangent of 37 degrees equals to 5. And then I divide by tangent of 37 degrees. Okay, remember, I know it looks kind of weird to divide by that big old statement, but it's just a number, right? What is tangent of 37, just to see? It's approximately 0.75. Okay, that's what tangent of 37 is, like 0.75. So it's just a number. We divide by tangent of 37 on both sides. Now let me go ahead and do the calculation. 5 divided by tangent of 37 degrees is let me write this down. X equals to 6.635224108. They want the nearest tenth. What's my answer? All right, 6.6. We'll do one more of these. We did a sine, we did a tangent, so no surprise that the next one is going to be a cosine function. Okay, so just do a cosine one just to make sure we see one of each. Tomorrow, when you guys watch the video, what's going to happen is I'm going to give you two sides, and you guys got to figure out the angle. Okay, you're going to need a calculator, so I'm going to have to make sure you guys can use Desmos, because if you don't own one, I don't think they're going to have tons of them for you guys in the library. So I got to make sure I open that up for you guys. All right. Any questions before I move on to example number 3? Let me just put this right here. Or any questions on this one? Remember, this one's the tough one. The next one, do you guys want me to make the next one a tough one as well, or you want me to make it an easier one? I'm seeing some yeses with a tough one. So we'll do another one that's a little bit on the tough side. This is the tough side, okay? The other one was easier, all right? But I've shown you one that was easier, one that's tougher. Let's do one more, and we'll keep it on the tougher side. It's still going to be a cosine problem. I'm curious if this thing will... Oops, no. I went too short. So there we go. I'm going to draw a triangle like this. It is a right triangle. I'll put my ABCs here, so we'll call this A, B, C. We'll put one of the angles as 67 degrees. We'll call this X, and we'll call this, I don't know, 20. And remember, they're not going to give you anything more than this. It's your job to figure out which function. Not like yesterday's homework where they told you, do this function, right? Here, it's up to you. That's why you need to know the acronym, right? The SOHCAHTOA, so you can relate it to this. So this one, like I said, is going to be easier because we know it's supposed to be cosine, right? I told you I was going to do a cosine. Here's the angle. All right? So there's my angle. My hypotenuse is which side? Where the x is, right? AB. This is hypotenuse. Which one's my opposite side? Which one? C? Oh, BC. BC or CB. CB, BC. Sorry, I'm used to saying it in alphabetical order, but either way works. So BC or CB, whatever you want to call it. So that would be my opposite, which doesn't matter because there's nothing there. That leaves 20 as my adjacent. Okay? So I have an A, I have an H, and I have an angle. So AH, that's cosine, right? So I'm going to put cosine of angle A is equal to AH. Not to be confused with the actual angle A. Sorry about that. I don't like that it kind of repeats itself. But all right, cosine of angle A, that's 67 degrees, equal to A, which is 20, over H, which is X. So again, this is one of those harder problems because of the fact that the variable is on the bottom of the fraction. If it's on the top, all I have to do is just multiply by 20 and I'd be done. But since this is on the bottom, I got to move stuff around. So I'm going to multiply the X over there. So I get X cosine of 67 degrees is equal to 20. And then I got to get X all by itself. So let me divide both sides by cosine of 67. So cosine 67 degrees on both sides. I get X equal to 20 over cosine of 67 degrees. Okay? So 20 divided by cosine of 67. You'll just put that into your calculator. Again, making sure your calculator is in degree mode. You get X equals 51.1860933 which if I round it to the nearest tenth is what? 51.2, right? So there you go. We're done. So that's going to be for today's homework. Now, I'm just going to leave this in the video in case somebody's watching. Just give me a second. I'll come back to this. But if I go to Desmos, I know Desmos is considered a graphing calculator, okay? But if you go down, just keep going down all the way here, you see where it says products right here? It says scientific calculator, all right? So you can go to that, and it basically is a scientific calculator. Notice you can do sine, cosine, tangent. Notice right here, degrees or radians, okay? You guys get to choose which type you're going to do. So right now it's in degree mode. Okay, now it's in radian mode. All right, so you can choose it there. You can do all your calculations there. All right. The cosine to the negative one, yeah. So I'm going to show that to you guys in a little bit. But that would be, I don't know if that's here. Yeah, they're right here. Sine inverse, cosine inverse, tangent inverse. They're right here. Okay, under the function button. That's where you would find it. Okay, if you have a calculator of your own, then great. The way you find those is going to be if you look right above sine, cosine, and tangent buttons. If you look right above the button, in this one, it's in yellow. You have to press Shift Sine, and you see sine inverse come out, sine to the negative one. Okay, so you'll see it pop up right there. But that's right on those right there. So it's all on your calculators. If you need one, if you have one at home, bring one. If you don't, you can always use Desmos. Okay, and Desmos should let you. It should let you do the work you need from there. All right. So let me stop this.